Welcome to day 10, everyone. To master the ego, we must start from scratch. Strip it right back. So today we're going to look at the ego. And as we know, the ego plays a big role in our life. Every part of our life, the ego has something to say. It's the yin to the yang. It's the anything of absence of oneself. Ego. Because oneself is the soul. Unconscious behaviours, ego. Emotions, ego. Limiting beliefs, self-doubt, self-blame. The opinions from others, the opinions of ourselves, labels, attachments, beliefs. Ego is huge. The only thing in life that we have to work at is the ego. And as we all know, there's so much ego to our life. Always showing up, always making an appearance, and at the same time holding us back, putting the pressure on oneself. And the ego can get a hold of us, but what is the ego? Anything opposite to our truth. What is the ego? Egotistical thoughts. It's the mind. All on the mind. And now we're in control of the mind, the gatekeeper. What comes in and what goes out. The mind has an important part to play. And then the creative mind, the imagination, that's what changes going forwards. Because what you put out does come back. And all it requires is your imagination, connected to your feelings. So if we look at soul, mind, body, the mind is the labels, the descriptions, the definitions, the theories, the ideas, the concepts, the processes, the dates, the numbers, the words. There's so much to ego. Like, where do we start? How do we work out all these things? Well, one, awareness. Where do we start? So when we're looking at ego from oneself and ego from others, me and you. We and our is the soul. So if you're always speaking from we, the foundation is truth. And in that conversation, you have characters to make a conversation. You and me. And the energy that we both share in that conversation. And it's very easy to call someone out on their ego. And at the same time, ours is going off too. Quite easy to point at someone else. Notice what they're doing. Anything that upsets you, offends you, triggers you, frustrates you, that's your ego. No one else, no one to blame, that's your ego. Because your soul is a truth. If you stayed in your truth at every moment, the soul doesn't get angry, doesn't get frustrated. The soul is love and light. So that's quite simple to know. Anything that's not our feelings, not our truth, not love and light, is the ego. Edging God out, that darkness. So on my journey now, I am always looking out for ego. I ego check myself too. So when I analyze myself, I look through my eyes. I look through their eyes. I look at the whole picture, the whole conversation, the energy in the room. reactions from others, the reactions of them, reactions of me. I'm always paying attention. And there's different things that we can focus on every time. That's the beauty of life. Every day is a new day. Every day we get to show up as the soul, as the student. That is life. And because there's so many things to focus on, straight away we know that's mind. Because when it comes to the soul, it's your truth or not, one or the other. So if we start and strip it right back, start from scratch, what does that mean? So if we looked at yourself now, looking at me, face is calm. Everything's relaxed, at peace. If we use the word neutral, face is neutral, no expressions, present in this moment. Your eyes are on the screen. My eyes are looking straight back at you. So if you look at the word eyes, I always starts from the I am, the soul, the self. So whenever we're working on ego, we can learn so much about others. We always have to start from the self. And then straight away the ego goes off, God, I've got so much to focus on. I know mine goes off here, there, all these different things, the different triggers, all mind, all mind, all mind. Start from the soul. That's the truth. Don't even worry about your ego. Start from your truth, because that is the truth. And that really helps simplify things for me. If I start from the truth, I don't play ego. Ego's a role. Ego's anything opposite from my truth. So I start from my truth. So let's strip it right back. So when we said the gatekeeper of the mind, we had 3: words, thoughts and actions. We start from this neutral place now. You can hear my words. Your face is neutral. Your mouth, there's no noise coming out of it. What is working now? And really bring awareness to what is going on right now. Let's start with a breath. Not even thinking about it, just breathing. So whilst I'm talking now, bring awareness to your breath without changing it. Just bring awareness to your breath. Remember, neutral, the word neutral. Imagine neutral as the breath. So if we start from the I, the spiritual being, the soul, spirit, that energy, the breath, your breath is the spirit. The in spirit inside you, where all that energy goes, all that magic takes place, and the spirit, when that goes out into the world, when we speak, those words come out of our mouth, and that energy that disperses into the world as a truth. And what we put out from that energy comes back. So, the breath is so powerful. And we're going to just play around with the breath because it's helped me so much. So much. And I stumbled across this. And again, the more I observe myself, the more sweet spots you find. So, if we use the length of the breath, we'll bring it right back, strip it right back. Your breath, the spirit. Your soul is the truth. So if we looked at your soul in a conversation, stillness, eyesight, listen like a stone with ears. It's neutral. So if you are your truth, Anything that's not truth, remember we share the same energy in the conversation. We know it's the ego. You can feel the difference from your light to the darkness. There's a shift, there's a resistance. That's the same in a conversation. So as we know, listen like a stone with ears, we're completely still. And if we pay attention to the breath, and I use an example, I breathe in and my body goes up with the breath. My lungs expand, my ribs rise, they're full, my stomach draws in. So if we're looking at stillness, look at the body. Remember, we are the spirit, the soul. When the body's moving, it needs the energy. The mind needs to work too. So if we can get the body calm, that means the mind is still. And then we can work at the breath. And you bring it right to source. And this is something you can work at every single day. And I tell you why this has helped me so much. Because I know at the very core I can stay as still as possible with everyone around me, everyone talking to me, and I can still breathe. Breath in and out, and you wouldn't even know. There's not a reaction. And it's the same example. Sometimes we get in conversations, we get in arguments, we get in debates, and something just stirs up. And we are staying neutral, we're staying calm. Now it's time to speak. And you then have to take that breath. It's not a natural breath. There's a bit of fear there, a bit of uncomfort, a lot of mind, trying to get that breath out the body. And ego picks up of anything that's away from the truth. So when you're calm, and then something like that comes into work play, it's the energy of you, the energy of them. They feed off of each other. So what is energy? It starts with a thought. Let's look at a conversation. Words are energy. Eyesight is energy. Energy shared. All comes back to energy. You feel the energy in the room. You can cut that room with a knife. It was so tense. They drain my energy. It feeds off. Ego feeds off of ego. Ego will do everything possible to trigger the ego. Yeah, it's all energy. So the more neutral you become, the energy will fire at you. There's nowhere to bounce back off to. It just flows through. The moment we give resistance, it pushes it back and you get caught up. And the more you work on this, the more you'll start seeing all the different levels of ego. Because if there's no movement from you, all it is them. And as a knowing, you can stand on that. What did you learn about them? And in that observation, you learn about yourself. Why? What happens? It's like you hold a mirror up, because everything they do is similar traits that happen to you in your life or what you currently do. There's certain things that you're just unaware, but they don't like the way that people speak like that. That was really rude. They're not even paying attention. They're fidgeting. All these things, without that awareness, wouldn't know. But all those things, there's many of the stuff that we do too. All unconscious, all unaware. So your breath, if we look at the length of the breath, and again strip it to simple terms first. The breath comes in, the breath goes out. We breathe in oxygen from the spirit. We release carbon dioxide into the universe to recycle itself, the yin to the yang. And with the breath has movement, work for the being. So we can go for the length of the breath to start with duality. Go as high as you can. Breathing all the way back down, and just follow the length of that breath up and down. And I want you to imagine the path of the energy. It goes up, it comes down, it goes up, it comes down. If we look at the crossover, there's a point where there is a neutral crossover. It's exactly the same. There's a point. If you follow the breath up and down, there'll be a point. There's a crossover. There's a sweet spot. So if we limit our breath now, and we do it to about here. So it's from the nostrils up to the third eye. It's in through your nose. If you bring awareness, the less the breath, the less the body. And if you are the spirit, the soul, all it is energy. The breath is energy. And this human experience, we use energy, we eat energy, we consume energy. So if we stay neutral, you become one with the energy. So you can work on your breath in and out, and do this all the time. The point where it will feel like you're holding your breath, especially in the meditations. I can stay so still in this moment, and I could stay there, my body completely still. You're talking to me. When I need to speak, I take my breath, and then I go. So the body language, the energy, the feedback, all from the mind, all of it. So when you're in a conversation, you can feel that going off. Yeah, we always start at the truth first, and this is where intention comes in. Start from yourself. And this is always work in progress. I love it. Every conversation, I'm always looking out for clues, some teachings. I love this. And you learn so much about yourself in the process. You learn repeated behaviours, unconscious traits, collective consciousness. Everything seems to be on a loop in one way or another. So if we can get used to that breath, at the very knowing of foundation, you can keep yourself in that blissful state no matter what is coming at you. So we work at that first, the breath. Next is stillness. And this was really one of my biggest soul slaps. I met a woman who got introduced to me, and I was doing meditations all the time. Mr. Present. Always finding new music, always trying meditations. I loved it even back then. And this woman made me aware of something that I was not aware of. In fact, it shocked me because I had no clue. She said, "You move all the time. You're always moving." And as she said that, I'm like, I'm stretching, I'm moving, all the time. The first time I met her, she said, "You were moving so much, I thought you had a problem." As I thought, a bit of a weird guy. And I literally, the dread come back thinking, oh my God, I move all the time. Being in the fitness industry, I'm always standing my clients, I'm moving, I'm stretching constantly. To the point, my ego took that personally. And then I kept catching myself moving all the time. It was constant, and I missed the present. To the point where I thought I had a problem. My hands, I had to sit on my hands. I had to completely stay still. I got upset because I was not in control at all, and it was constant. So when we did the awareness, the ingrained behaviours, the automation, movement was one for me, and I sat on my hands. And then every time I was doing my coaching course, and I was on that group coaching course too, I then was just noting myself in the video. I got more and more still, to the point where I felt like I was embedded into the energy space, into the universe. I can keep so still, but there's no uncomfort, there's no resistance. It's like It's like those rocks that you find on holiday. They put them all on the top, and there's always a way that you can balance them all. It was like the sweet spot where you sit for the body. And I realised the more I was doing that, the more I was paying attention to the other person, the more I was remembering. Listen like a stone was listen like a stone that hadn't moved in about 25 years. Perfect position. I was the golden stone. And now, if you watch me with people, I can stay completely neutral. I'm engaged. It starts with the eye. My eyes are making contact with their eyes. My breath, constant flow. It's automatic now. And I don't feel the tension of my body. I don't feel that. Because when you come to the spirit of the breath, it is just clear ways. Always. And now I remind myself that, I tell myself that that's my foundation. So I know I'm calm, because for my breath to be like that, my body has to be still. For my body to be still, my mind has to be still. It comes back to the breath. And then the stillness on top of that. Just neutral. So imagine now being in the conversation, and again it might feel and seem weird because this is all new. And then the thought of doing it, they'll think I'm mad, they'll think I'm not paying attention, they'll think I'm being all thoughts. That's all your ego. And I'm going to show you how we can have some fun with this. Always work in progress, but like listening like a stone with ears. When it works instantly. You get excited because there's something that we can use at any point going forward. And the amount of, and many on have done the Soul Revive have said, the way that I engage in my conversations now, I let them speak. In fact, sometimes they speak so much, I'm just there, present. So what makes a conversation? Two people in that conversation. Conversation is through words, but it's more than words. It's your presence. Holding the space, holding the silence is the most powerful thing you can do in any conversation. So you're holding the space for yourself. Your intention, breath, stillness. I'm going to evolve that stillness into the next expression, which is facial expression. You can read someone quite well with facial expressions. And facial expressions, if we looked at ego or soul, neutral face expression for me is this. If I looked at that full spectrum, me right in the middle, that's my neutral. Ego, anything that's not my truth. My truth. Smiling, happiness, joy. It's natural. So anything from a face expression, all ego. But can you see it's that simple? So if you look at them reading you, if they say something, can you pull faces like this? Which we do. We don't realise, but we do. They say something, you're like, ooh. Or when you're at a coffee shop and someone's having a conversation next to you and they say something quite offensive and you look round, that's ego. You've entered their space. So I use the eyes as the gatekeeper too. You're in control what comes into your space. As soon as you lock your eyes, regardless of what takes place, you've entered in a situation with another soul. Usually that will be an ego encounter. So you can protect by, first of all, being aware of the eye contact you make, because when you lock eyes, it's all about energy. And when people play a character, it can be intimidating, be aggressive, be fearful. But we've already entered that. So when it's ego and soul, eyesight's on the soul. I become the scout. And anyone comes into my space, I choose to continue with my path or make eye contact. So face expressions, starting at neutral. Body, stillness. And the breath, minimal breathing. If we say start from scratch, that is your scratch right there. Well, I'm meant to be talking in conversations. Yeah, of course you are. It's not for everyone. Yeah, there's certain people in your life that are so unconscious. When you have conversations, all they do is talk about themselves. Now it's a teaching. Now we can work on our ego, work on ourselves first. You set the intentions beforehand. Could it even be for 5 minutes, for 2 minutes? For the next thing they're going to say, I'm going to sit here, listen like a stone with ears. I'm going to work on my breath, finding that sweet spot. I'm going to bring this to my body, stillness. And remember, you don't have to overthink the mind, because stillness in the body is stillness in the mind. Mind sets the body. And watch what takes place. Remember, if there's no ego from you, anything that comes your way, you now have a choice, ego or self. And then if you say ego, what makes it the ego? They talked about their self all the time. I, me. They like to show off. They like to name drop. They wasn't even paying attention every time I did speak back. They keep checking their phone, they're fidgeting. Every little thing you can notice. But like we said the other day, be there to understand. Like you're looking at the ants. There's no judgment in this place. To understand. That's why be selective with who you do this with to start with. Because once you master your scratch, your foundation, then you can choose every conversation what perspective you're going to look from. Am I just going to have the conversation? I'm going to be here to listen to them. Do I need someone from me just to talk about things? I need to let stuff out. You make that decision early on. So the breath, stillness, and the neutral face expressions. And disclaimer, I'm not encouraging you to be like this all the time. I'm asking you, give it a try. I'm encouraging you, once you do, it changes everything. The calmness for me in conversations now, because I know my truth, that's my energy. And if I trust in my soul, I'm in my truth. Which means any reaction from anyone else is not my responsibility. But from that reaction, and this is the standing on the truth, if I then react to that, I've gone into the ego space. If I stay neutral, all it is their ego. And do you know what's the beauty of that? Because they know it's not a truth. And you've stood on it, been consistent with it. At some point, they'll come back round and they'll acknowledge it. They'll thank you. The teachings are always there. When people play up ego, if there's no reaction to it, what have they got to play with? If people gossip, waste of energy, one of the worst. If there's no reaction back, no putting more things in the fire. Oh, it's so bad what they did to you. That's what happens all the time. So no neutral that, there's no more fire. In fact, we put out the fire by standing still, by shining our light. Awareness is the key. So we're going to break it down from scratch. Start from the 3. The breath. And work at this each day. Start with the duality. Lengthen of the breath. In and out. Get the body involved. Open up the lungs. Stretch the shoulders. Breathe back. A few times. Get the full spectrum. Then go to source. What do I need? And instantly in that moment, body calm, mind still. So how much do I need? And then I work on it. I can get my mouth in a comfortable position. My breathing's clear all the time now. I can now meditate. And I know that my body doesn't need to work. So all that energy stays inside me. That's magic. That's the soul. And then the face expressions. So cool to do this. You learn a lot about yourself. You see when face expressions go, but you also see how people use them to influence. Oh, all sorts of face expression, all automated. If people pull a face, if you don't give anything back, it's like they've got a soul slap. Why are you pulling a face for? When people just lash out and they've had a bad day and they take it on you and you do not even react at all, no reaction, they come over and apologise. They'll say thank you for having a conversation with me, I really appreciate it now. And in that moment, sometimes, they might not. You can go away and they did this and they did that. Stay on your truth. It's not about them. And you stay up consistently, showing up as you. That's where the respect comes in too. That's when the empowerment feeling comes, the empower mind. And all of a sudden we can start bringing a lot more awareness to ego. So if we start from the truth first, and everything else that comes your way, because you know it's not you, you can be 100% confident that you will find an answer of why and what you've noticed, what the correlation is. It's beautiful. It's all your own story, from your observations, from your experience, from your feelings. So give this a go, and I really would like to get your feedback from doing these. And remember, every day is the soul. So this is something to work at. Mastery is getting experience, connecting with the feelings, looking at the meaning, then going again, recreate, re-experience. Mastery. We keep going to the point where it becomes natural, it's in flow. And when you're in the flow, you enjoy it. I enjoy conversations now. I know that I'm going to show up as me. I know that. And if I am my truth, I know that the energy in that space is always going to be good. Always. I also know that their reactions are not my responsibility. That's a powerful one. And the opposite of fear is love. So anyone now that comes from a negative place at all, even if they're talking a good game, even if what they're saying is the truth, it's the negativity, the anger, the fear. So say anything the opposite of fear is love. That's not coming from a place of love. Love is the soul. So I protect my space, you protect your space. Meet at love. Calmness, peace, joy, bliss, serenity. Start from the soul. So I'd love to get your feedback, guys, and see how you get on. So the breath, stillness, and the face expressions. And then we'll dive deeper into the ego.